All right, well here we are again, guys, with yet another refresh of Skylake. And the script for this one, which, oh, there we go, they've helpfully included in the box here, is pretty much the same as last time with, nope, there we go. So let's see here. We got more cores, and we got some more cache to go with them, and really? Is that it? No new process node, no AVX 512 support, and wait. I can't even believe this. We're still using the same GT2 graphics engine with the same number of execution units at the same clocks. But is it possible that there's more than meets the eye? Yes, and I'll be telling you about it after these messages from Origin. Origin PC's Evo 15S features a smooth 144Hz 1080p display with an NVIDIA GTX 1070 Max-Q graphics card. It also weighs only 4.3 pounds. Check it out at the link below. Let's start with some good news, shall we? Intel has finally caved to the pressure, or made the decision on their own using whatever moon logic that they use, and soldered the IHS to the die, which should mean that we won't need to keep delidding our CPUs in order to get decent thermals out of them. Though I'm not promising that I won't do that anyway. What do you think, Pella? Should I do it? Should I risk a $1,000 processor? I mean, you only live once, right? This is it. But our delicious soldered cheeseburger also comes with a side of vomit milkshake, because for the first time that I can remember, we are actually losing hyperthreading and some of the cache per core on the 9th gen Core i7. In fact, for now, nothing but the new 8-core Core i9 9900K includes hyperthreading technology. So Intel done screwed me over here, because my Core i3, i5, i7 explainer is now inaccurate just weeks before it would have hit 10 million views. So way to go, guys. Thanks a lot. The hardware mitigations for Spectre and Meltdown do make me feel a little bit better though. These should take over from some of the software and firmware fixes, which, again, this is a big should, restore some extra performance per core. Speaking of firmware, we've actually got a new chipset on our hands, except that it's basically what we think the Z370 chipset should have been in the first place, with the only added features being USB 3.1 Gen 2 support and integrated Wi-Fi via what Intel calls integrated connectivity, or the SNV for short. Oh, sorry, just kind of an aside here. Do you guys remember when Intel had simple, memorable marketing like dun 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 and Centrino? Who the hell is in charge over there right now? I mean, even the Core i3, i5, i7 nonsense was less confusing than this hot mess. And at least 10 million people, need I remind you, didn't understand that. On the plus side, at least both the 9th gen chips and boards are backwards compatible with the 8th gen gear and vice versa. Bringing us then to the elephant in the room. More cores. It seems Intel has finally had enough of AMD lording Ryzen's 8 cores over them, and here we have not one, but 2 Intel Core Series CPUs with 8 cores. Though with that said, they haven't yet tired of AMD lording their more aggressive pricing over them, because for a 16-thread processor, you will be paying a nearly 40% premium to get a blue case badge, making the cheaper 8-thread Core i7 possibly a much easier pill to swallow. At least we think so, because Intel in their infinite wisdom isn't sampling that chip yet. So we were forced to pull a little trick out of our hats that we've used before. So in our graphs, you're gonna see performance numbers for the 9900K, the Core i9. Then you're gonna see performance numbers for that same chip with its hyperthreading disabled and its maximum 2-core boost adjusted to 4.9 gigahertz. We're gonna be labeling these results Core i7 9700K, finger quotes, because from our experience in the past, these results should be very close to the real chip, but they aren't the real chip, so hence the finger quotes. All right, Here we go. Right away, we can see that Intel's PR and marketing departments got at least one thing right over the last couple of scandal-plagued weeks. This CPU is absolutely the best CPU in the world for gaming. It's faster than the 8700K, which pretty much qualifies it right there. But the difference here is relatively minor, a few FPS here and there, and what's weird is that it seems to be struggling with DirectX 12 right now. As expected, the extra cores aren't doing us any favors in current gaming titles, and we're pretty much relying on the extra 300 MHz on the boost clock for our performance gains, just like with the 8700K when it first launched. It should be noted, however, that the RTX builds of games like Battlefield 5 should take advantage of more cores, so maybe we will see a bigger difference there whenever those builds show up. Moving on to productivity, it's here that we see the biggest improvements over the 8th gen flagship. And thanks to the extra clock speed, the 9900K even manages to eclipse the more expensive Core i7-7820X on Intel's high-end X299 platform. That even extends to AVX 512 enabled workloads like Blender, where traditionally Intel's high-end desktop chips dominate on a per-core basis. What's even more exciting for streamers is that X264 performance is significantly improved here, with the new Core i9 landing striking distance from the 7900X, whose MSRP is nearly double. So the 9900K is looking pretty good so far. And if you've been paying attention to the graphs, you'll probably also have noticed that our simulated Core i7-9700K is also holding up well, typically outperforming the 8700K that it replaces, making the loss of hyperthreading confusing, but less of a big deal from a performance standpoint than you might have expected. And there's more to be happy about too. Thanks to the soldered IHS, the Core i9-9900K actually enjoys better thermals than the 8700K from last generation, even under full load. And sustained power consumption is actually down as well. That's especially good news compared to the relatively power-hungry 7820X. But, and it's a big but, we haven't addressed the price tag yet. At 30 to 40% more than the Core i7-8700K and Ryzen 7 2700X from AMD, Intel's 8-core, 16-thread consumer chip is in a price bracket all on its lonesome, somewhere in the no man's land between the consumer and the high-end desktop markets, which means that gamers are going to do a double take, and anyone building a budget workstation is going to be forced to choose between per-thread performance and memory bandwidth and PCI Express lanes, because Z390 doesn't add quad-channel memory or more PCIe lanes, unfortunately. Now that we have real performance numbers instead of the bunged up ones that Intel either through blatant malice or stunning ineptitude showed off before the launch, where are we left here? Thanks to its bloated $490 price tag, with limited availability potentially pushing that higher, the Core i9-9900K ends up looking less compelling to us than Intel's own Core i7-9700K. And this whole launch in general doesn't look like it's gonna woo over too many pure gamers, from cheaper, lower core count options, even from Intel's own lineup. Then, for the streamers out there who are looking to upgrade, honestly, we'd probably recommend an RTX GPU for its stellar hardware H.264 encoder instead. As for the non-gamers, AMD is still fighting this battle from a position of strength. Ryzen still gives you more cores per dollar, it includes ECC support if that's important to you, and it even brings more PCI Express lanes to the table. But if gaming is just one of the things you do, and you want the best of both worlds, at least Intel has some response now to the fantastic performance of the R7 2700X in non-gaming applications. I mean, there is something to be said for getting to the end of your shift and firing up CSGO at over 500 frames per second. We're gonna need some faster monitors pretty soon, hey? Speaking of things we need, this message from iFixit. The iFixit ProTech Toolkit is designed to help you tackle almost any electronics repair challenge. It includes over 13 different tools, including their 64-bit screwdriver set, the Jimmy, a steel flexible blade that allows for powerful prying, and a small suction cup for removing glass panels from phones and tablets. All iFixit tools are backed by a lifetime warranty, so if something breaks, they will replace it for free, and their site is full of great guides, so you don't need to be a genius to fix your electronics. You just need the right tools. So go to ifixit.com/Linus and pick up your ProTech toolkit today. We're gonna have that linked below. So thanks for watching, guys. If this video sucked, you know what to do. I know you guys know it. But if it was awesome, get subscribed, hit that like button, or check out the link to where to buy the stuff we featured in the video description. Also down there is our merch store, which has cool shirts like this one, and our community forum, which you should totally join.